Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. Let's get started with our hosts, Linda McKissack and Dana Gentry.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Life and Real Estate. I'm Linda McKissack.
And I'm Dana Gentry.
Hey, Dana, I feel like it's been forever.
I know, it has been.
I don't know. We've both been so busy, I guess.
I know we have been busy, but this week has just been, this is so funny. I was actually going to talk to you about this. And I guess we can talk about it on here. But, you know, Tuesday was the 1 year of my dad's death.
Yeah.
And I took the day off. And I had a great day. Like, it was really good. It was emotional, but it was really good. And I did, like, all the things that he loved to do. And so I, like, started in the morning and went all the way to, like, dinner at his favorite place. Like, it was a great day. Like, I had planned it all out. But then and then Wednesday, Heather texted me Wednesday morning and said, today's a new day. And I'm like, thank you, Lord, it is a new day, which was great. But I kind of like, and I know this about myself, but I kind of wondered if you're ever like this. Like, I don't do good to, like, not do something. Like, not have something going on. You know what I mean?
Oh, gosh. Yes.
Like,
yes.
I don't do good. Like, I need to be doing something. And I don't know if that's a good thing or not. But I think it might be a bad thing. I'm not sure. But I told Adam, I said, because I took like 2 days off just because I was like, I just need to chill and like let my brain work. And by like 10, I'm like, nope, I'm getting on Brand Builders. I'm learning this new course. Like, I'm working on my thing. I mean, I'm not good to just be.
Yeah, me either. And I don't know what that is, but you have that same problem.
Yeah, I don't know.
And part of you doesn't know whether to feel bad about it or to feel okay about it, right? Sometimes I think we spend so much time feeling bad about things, but I think, well, if that's the way we're wired,
right?
You know, and as long as you do get some downtime, which I know you do also.
Yeah.
You know, y'all go to the lake, you do different things like that. So it's not like you don't.
That is good. It's like.
It's just doing absolutely nothing.
Yes. Yeah. Nope. It just doesn't work for me. And, you know, that's why I loved Taylor Davis, who we had on with his book, Parable for the Republic, because he said in there, I don't have it in front of me, but he said something in there like, you can feel bad. Like, he used to feel bad about wanting to work and wanting to do so much. And then he's like, but then I switched my mindset to think, if I'm not doing that, then I'm not multiplying my talents to the fullest degree, which is what God tells us to do. So I'm like, that's true. That's like been my mantra this week as I've been thinking, I'm not good at just doing nothing.
Yeah. The one I hate is getting off, which was kind of what we're going to talk about today. I didn't go. I sat at home and did a workshop with Dr. Henry Cloud the other night. And it's called Time is Finite.
Oh,
it was really good. But I struggle with and I think the problem is a lot of people are struggling with this right now is I'll get off into, like, I've been sitting with Jimmy as he watches the Olympics, and I don't really just only want to watch them. I want to do something else too. So I have my computer.
Same.
But the problem is, like, this morning, how long did I spend on YouTube? And I don't even know what I got out of it last night. So, I mean, at least if I get a recipe or something, I get up and go try. Yeah. But I don't think I got anything. And I think it was several hours. Now, understand, I'd had a full day of work. It's not like I hadn't done any work.
Totally.
But that's where I struggle is which is so much about what Dr. Henry Cloud said. So let's dig into this because I think this will answer.
I brought my notebook to take notes. And like, yes, because I love.
So I think this will answer a lot of our questions. But I'm exactly like you. I don't know how to be still and just be.
Yeah.
And even like I've noticed, like, part of my issues on everything is the stress level. Even though I don't feel stressed, I'm a naturally stressed person.
Yep.
And I think I've just had it part of my DNA so long I don't even recognize it. But learning how to box breathe and do some stuff like that and meditate, I cannot do it. I haven't figured out let's put it this way. I haven't figured out a way to get it done yet. Yeah. So far, the ways I've tried don't work.
Yeah, and I have a solid 6 seconds of meditation before my brain is like totally on to everything else. I've even tried those guided ones and I just can't. I don't know.
And I think all that's tied together. That being still and that are two of the same issues. So
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to keep looking for the answer for that.
Yeah.
But Dr. Henry Cloud did a 2-hour workshop the other day. It's called Time is Finite. And he started out by talking about, he's very ADD too, which I've definitely noticed that about him.
Yeah.
Other ADD people recognize those signals in other people.
Right.
But he said, he was kind of feeling like a sluggard because he was procrastinating to do his PhD stuff, his dissertation or whatever. And so he said he noticed somebody got him something, a little, have you ever seen those little ant farms?
Mm-mm.
You used to get them and there'd be a little ant farm and you just watch them. Well, I think there is such a thing. You watch the ants, but he said what he noticed one day is that the ants were just picking up a little piece of sand. And then after a while, if you went away and didn't look at them, when you came back, there was this like amazing thing built.
Yeah.
So he said, really, because sometimes we can feel like a sluggard because we procrastinate or don't do something big that's supposed to be done. But the truth is, it's about managing our moments.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about the ants in the sand, those little pecks of sand that they put over there are really just their moments.
Yeah.
And you do enough moments together on something and you've built something.
Oh, yeah.
So it was so good. And it actually made a whole lot more sense later when I kind of looked back and thought about it. But so to manage he said, first of all, you can't manage time. So forget that. Everybody needs to stop saying that. Manage our energy to do the activities that we need to do to get the goals and the priorities that we need to get. So really and to manage the activities, you have to find the moments, right? Yeah. And we sometimes, like when people write a book, they want to sit down and write too much. Instead, if it was just a small bite-sized piece and you did that enough times, before you know it, you've got a book.
Yeah, that's right.
He said he's written 40 books. He said, I don't know. I'm not someone who can write 40 books, but he learned to manage his moments and with his moments, do the right activities enough. So he says, I have a system. Stuff goes into a bucket, which sounds so much like John Maxwell's.
Totally. Yeah.
He says stuff goes into a bucket. He starts a spreadsheet by word count. He likes to do 5,000 words by this many weeks to get to 80,000 words. So that's just what he calls budgeting the time to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He said, for the activities for driving goals to reach the vision, we have to be in control of our time. Assign appointments. If you have a goal of working out 2 times a week, 70% of your success is guaranteed by the fact that you've got the time assigned, which I've learned that about myself. Like already right now this morning, real early, I texted a trainer in Ohio because I'm headed to Ohio on Sunday. Yeah. And then from Ohio, I'll go to Austin. Yeah. Well, I already have an Austin set up to go with a group to do cycle. Yeah. So that's already assigned. Yeah. And then I texted a trainer that Anna gave me, and I thought if he had some time, like at 5:30 or 6, because my schedule is slammed next week, which is really cool. I want to talk to you about how I got that done. But so I know that if I assign that time in advance, I'm going to increase. So you do kind of learn, I think, over time yourself well enough to know, like if I waited till I got to Dayton, the odds go way, way down that I'm even going to set up anything with somebody this time. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. So it's similar to like, it's stupid and, little as it sounds, like I pre-do the DoorDash Whole Foods order like for Austin before I leave, because when I get there, if I don't already have it, I'm headed straight to the tacos.
Ooh, you better let me see your list. I might need to do the same thing. Well,
but I know if I don't do that, like once I'm there, it's over. I'm done.
Yeah, I always think the best time for us to write, I know this is a squirrel, but whatever, write what we should eat and whatever should be while we're there, because it would be a great time to just completely fast, except for the evenings, because there's no time to eat. And there's nothing but those little stands or grabbing a sandwich box, which I don't even eat sandwiches anymore, so that doesn't work. Yeah. But the other thing, I was just thinking about this because I do have a little mini air fryer that I was going to take, because I can actually I've learned how to take frozen steak because, I'm doing carnivore right now. So, well, it's kind of weird. There's a whole battle out there between, are you really keto or carnivore? I don't know. I'm either clean keto or dirty carnivore. I don't know which one I am. So I don't worry about that, but they all fight about it. I'm just like, I'm just going to eat what I need to eat right now. And so,
like, just whenever you feel your best, like whatever you're eating where you feel your best.
Yes. So, but I learned this past week. So, because I know I travel so much, how do you take a ribeye steak, and put it in an air fryer and cook it from frozen?
Oh, from frozen.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I guess you can do that in an air fryer.
Yeah. So anyway, so I have a little mini travel air fryer, and I think, you know what, I could just do that. And then I have carrying bags that I can just take it, with me or whatever. But I don't eat breakfast anyway. So it's really only lunch or dinner. And honestly, I think I could do without lunch while I'm there and just do one meal a day.
Well, we're so busy. I mean, it's like hard to, I take shakes and drink a shake in the morning, but then after that, I might not eat until dinner. It's just, there's too much going on.
Yeah. I have to bring you some of the shakes that I bought that I'm not drinking right now. Okay. Well, anyway, we squirreled on traveling and our food and all that stuff. But anyway, I would love to see what you're ordering from Whole Foods.
I'll have to send it to you.
Okay. So basically the point with that, which I love, is assigning the time to the activity.
Yeah.
And even because I find that if it's on my calendar, it gets done. If it's not on my calendar, the odds of it getting done are so slim. Mm-hmm. So assign the time to whatever's important to you. This one was really cool. He said, intentions are like a drug. Mm-hmm. He said, and what he means by that is, I'm going to do it, reacts in your body like a drug.
Wow.
Isn't that interesting?
Yourself that you're going to do it?
Just the intention gives you euphoria like you've taken a drug.
Wow.
But the problem is it doesn't get you the results.
Right. You have to do it.
So you have to assign the time and do the activity. But so many people, he said, just gets high from the intentions, and then they don't ever follow through with the activities to get the results. I thought, God, that's so true. Myself included. I've done that myself, Yeah. So we got to pay attention when we just have the intention and say, now that we have the intention, how do we get it to have a higher percentage of success?
Yeah.
Right. So he said, weekly review of the activities. Are they in the calendar? In which Gary used to do this all the time when he was coaching me. He'd say, send me your calendar. And what he was looking for is the activities that were going to support the goal that I had.
Yeah. All
right. So ask yourself, does everything in there match? Is everything that's in there of my priorities and of my goals, is those activities in the calendar? Mm-hmm. If they're not, where can you put them? Why are they not there? Ask in order of my goals. I'm in the season. Is my week loaded with what must happen to move the needle? And he said every season is different, and kind of learning, what that season is.
Yeah, that's so true.
He said at the end of every day, the same questions. Are my priorities happening? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He said John Maxwell has a rule of 5 commitment for life.
Yeah.
John Maxwell's is read, file, think, ask question,
and write.
And write every day. He said some people it's walk on the treadmill. Mm-hmm. It's what are your 5 your rules of 5 that have to get done. And really, if you got those things done, it would be a success. He said for him, he connects with Tori and God. Mm-hmm. He has to read and study every day, at least 1 hour or so. Move. And for him, because he says he's really such an introvert, he has to unplug. Mm-hmm. He said, I need my alone time. Mm-hmm. So and he said, I have to
unplug, read and write.
Yeah. And he said, I have to create something every day.
Oh, create. Yeah.
He said, keep a map. I love this. I actually do this. He says, keep a list of projects.
Yeah.
I do that all the time, because if I don't, I'll forget about them, and then I might have some time and space I could slide them in.
Yeah, you taught me that. I have a note in my notes app on my phone of just projects or things that I aren't a today thing, but
they're a someday thing.
They're a someday thing, and they pop up in your brain. You're like, oh, that's a good idea, but it's not a today idea.
He said, He said, what are my 5 projects? Pick up the grain of sand every day.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the projects that you're picking up the grain of sand every day to move towards them.
That is a great analogy about the ant thing. Like, I complain about them because we have those fire ants and they make those like huge mountains of sand in our yard. And I'm always worried that the dogs are going to step on them and get covered in fire ants. But it's like they pop up out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah.
One day, like you go out in the morning and nothing's there, and you come home in the afternoon and they've built this massive mound that they're all living in. And really, that is a great analogy if you think about it. Just pick up the grain of sand every day. I mean, that is a good way to look at it.
Well, I think it helps you not live in the gap.
Yeah.
But focus on the gain.
Totally.
Not live in the gap, but focus on the gain.
Yeah.
He said, plan your big rocks. Of course, everybody knows the big rock story. Have a master list. Put your big rocks in first. And he said, best of all, deadlines. He said, without a deadline, it's a fantasy. He said, you remember last year when we saw him, they were just buying a house in Nashville.
Yes. Yeah.
He said for the longest time, I don't remember. Do you remember what month that was? It was in the summer.
Yeah.
Right?
Summer. No, I think it's
fall.
like going into fall. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he said they made a commitment that on Thanksgiving, they were going to have Thanksgiving at their house and have 20 something people show up. He said that deadline took them from just a bed and a side table to the house full of furniture.
Yeah.
He said, because if we hadn't had that deadline, we still wouldn't have any furniture.
Nothing like a holiday or a party to get your house in shape quick.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see.
But Linda, that is so good because I was talking to a friend this morning, which was why I was telling Kate that I was late, because somebody will call me in the morning or text me and I haven't talked to him in a while and I really want to talk to him. But then I'm like, I got to get ready. I got to take my supplements. I got to make my shake. And then I got to be here by this time or start by this time. And then it pushes you back. But I really wanted to talk to this person. So I was talking to him and he said something so fascinating to me. We were talking about, because I started Brand Builders and yesterday I had my full first day in there and it's great, which by the way, now I know what you mean. It's a lot of work. Like you have to do the work. It's awesome. And it is a lot of work. And so anyway, I was saying to him, I thought you did Brand Builders. And he said, yeah, I've done it since 2018. And I said, wow, so you were early on before Rory was really kind of big. And he said, yeah, but I sat down with Rory and said in 2018, my deadline was to be fully rolling on all cylinders by 2028. And I said, 10 years? Wow. Like I said, actually my exact words were, you have a lot more patience and you're better at waiting than I am. And he said, well, really, I just knew that I wanted 2028 is when my last kid graduates from high school. And he said, and I knew that at that time I'd be ready to fully focus on it. So I wanted to take the 10 years to lay the foundation and build. And he said, and I gave myself the deadline of 2028, even though it seemed far away. And I thought, gosh, I don't have the patience to wait 10 years for something. But what you just said, without a deadline, it's just a fantasy. It is so true. And that's pretty much what he said this morning. He's like, the deadline of 2028 pulls me through. And now I'm 4 years from it. And so I'm really getting more intentional with it. And I'm like, man, that's good.
That is good. Well, something you just said was something that was big, he said, which I think John says this too, or somebody says it. They say the word friction. He says the word misery. He said, find a misery and make a rule. So what you just said was you wanted to talk to your friend, but you got to make your shake and you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to do that. Yeah. The misery is the things you got to do so that you can't talk to the friend.
Yeah.
So that's the one you got to fix.
Yeah.
So what would make it something that you could either still do it, you know what I mean? Still both, or delegate one, or spend some kind of prep time that gets the other one with less to do. Does that make sense?
I think what I just heard you say is Adam should make my shakes for me.
I think so too. Honestly, tell him I said so. Well, maybe you trade off and say, hey, in the mornings, I want to connect with one friend every morning.
Yeah.
So you do my shake and I'm going to do something else we'll
Dinner.
trade off something that's one of your miseries that is easy for me. Or
Yeah, that's a good idea. Find a misery, but make a rule. Is that what you said?
yeah, find a misery and make a rule
Mm-hmm.
or make a solution or whatever.
Yep.
But the problem is we keep facing the same misery or friction over and over without fixing it.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I
So-
love it. It's so true.
what's the misery?
Dad, he is so smart.
He really is.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, when I was going through it, I was like, oh, I don't know. I mean, because he kind of rambles a little bit. Hope you don't hear this. But when I took the notes and I took them in my phone because I decided I needed to multitask. So I was laying I got one of those blanket things that's a red light therapy so I can travel with it because I have red lights everywhere except some places don't have it. So I just thought, well, I'll just travel with one of these. And I laid it on the bed and I thought, well, I can't just sit here and do nothing. So I laid in it and made notes on my phone because I left my tablet in the office. So I think when I made the notes, it made so much sense what he was saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
And I was watching all the chat of the people in it, and they were asking questions like, well, what if you make commitments and then you don't follow through? And I'm sitting there because I'm a problem solver. I'm dying to solve their problem. I'm like, well, commit to a friend, how about a friend? Call a friend, make the deadline to the friend, or do an accountability call. I'm trying to solve all their problems on the chat. Okay. So here was another one. And this might have just been an ADD thing, but I think it would work for everybody. He said, let's say at 3:00 you decide you're going to do the laundry, whatever. 3 is not a good time, but whenever. He says, don't just say, I'm going to do the laundry. That's too vague. Mm-hmm. He said at 3:00, he said, I'm going to go throw a load of clothes in. So he said, take it and break it down into small parts because sometimes the goal is too big or the task is too big. Yeah. And so he said, and then, come back to me, or if it's you, then, come back and do something else or whatever. So just kind of try to take the task and break it down into, let's say you're going to do the laundry. Okay. Put the whites in, put the darks in, whatever the case is, break it down into smaller bite-sized pieces.
Yeah, smaller chunks. Yeah, definitely. That's like the whole eating the elephant one bite at a time thing.
Yeah. He said, put stuff together, bundle it, which I love this one. Mm-hmm. He said, you got to schedule maintenance. Also, he said, prep time is super important. Yeah, we don't allow for any prep time. Yeah. And really the prep time is let's say I was going to write, I got to go get my pencils. I got to get my pad. I got to make sure all that's ready to go.
Yeah. That was a big piece of brand builders yesterday that I actually loved was we would break apart. She would teach something, she would go through it in the workbook, and then she would put the clock on for 30 minutes. And she said, I don't want you to finish it right now. I just want you to prep for it. So come up with your thought joggers and write down things just to, it's not going to be complete when this timer goes off, but right now you're just prepping. And I loved that because if I wouldn't have done that, I know what I would have done. I would have gotten off there, gone to the next thing and forgotten about it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But really I got so much accomplished yesterday because of that. So yeah, the prep time is a huge thing.
He said, schedule follow up, always ask, when will they get back to you? Put, I need to get better at that. Because then I always tell my team, I'm like, when you don't get back to me and tell me at least what's going on, I think it's all in a black hole and nobody's doing anything.
Yeah, totally.
Or there's a problem and I need to know about it, one of those two things. So he said, schedule the follow up in your calendar. Let's say I give something to someone, write in my calendar when I'm going to follow up. Go ahead and allow that time, allot that time somewhere in your calendar, or ask them, when are you going to get back to me by, and then put that in your calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. So good.
Let's see. I've got just a few more. Define your no choice choices. What are some no choice choices? In other words, there's just no choice. You've got to do it. He said, example is like paying my mortgage.
Right. Yep.
He said, and watch for patterns. So let's say you were supposed to work out tomorrow and you sleep in, and, everybody has a day where you just don't feel good or you sleep in. But the next exercise day, the alarm goes off. Don't miss that second day.
Oh,
Because
right.
that second day now starts you into what they call a pattern.
That's right.
And patterns are extremely hard to get back from.
So true. That reminds me of what Gary, has always said. In the real estate business, you can have a bad day and you can have a bad week, but you can't have a bad month, because if you let yourself get to the point where you've had a bad month, it's hard as heck to get back on track from the bad month. And I've always remembered that, because it's true. It's just like that with what your example was perfect with walking or exercising or whatever it is. Once you get out of the pattern of it, it's hard to get back in the pattern.
Yeah. He said, ask yourself, is what I'm doing sustainable? Can I keep this up? And I think this is a big one, because I think we jump into projects or jobs or roles or whatever. And when we really think through, and Dan says this, could I do this for the next 25 years and never get tired of it?
Yeah.
But he says, ask yourself, is what I'm doing sustainable? And this is where I think sometimes smaller deals, because this is what Jimmy does on exercise. He's going to kill me. But if he ever does exercise, he goes all out and lives like Hercules or something. And then he's so sore and he can't stand to be sore. He never does it again. You know what? So that's not sustainable.
Right.
Whereas if he just went in and just said, hey, I'm just going to do really light weights for a few times or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think asking ourselves, is what I'm doing right now sustainable long term? And if it's not, I got to adjust it.
Yeah.
Or I got to get rid of it, one or the other.
I'm trying to find, there was something yesterday that I learned that was so good about that. Oh, shoot. Close to it. But they had us go through, I'm getting closer. Oh, found it. They had us go through, and you might remember this, write down each of our revenue streams, the years that we've been in it, the percentage of time that we spend on it per month, our revenue last year from that stream. And then these last two are the most important. On a 1 to 5, your stress level in that stream. And then the biggie, she said, the most important was the future potential on a scale of 1 to 5. Like 1, what's the future potential of it continuing to grow and get bigger, or could the industry change, or could the product not be needed anymore, or whatever it is. Or 5 is the future potential huge. And she said a lot of times, which I've done this, we spend the most time looking at what's the percentage of time that we spend on it and what's the revenue that came from it, instead of what's our stress level and what's the future potential on it. Because she said, if you have something that it's making you the most revenue, but you have a 5 on stress level and the future potential is a 1 or a 2, she's like, you might need to readjust and look at something different on that, instead of just looking at, oh, it made me the most money last year. And I was like, God, that's such a good thing to think about.
But I also think that works in reverse. I've watched people have huge opportunities that are very limited. Remember, I always say, small opportunities, everybody gets them. Medium gets harder. Large, there's only few, right? I think that works in reverse for people too. They don't look at that, and instead they're chasing other things that are not anywhere near that potential.
Yeah, that could be.
And when the first little bit of stress comes up, they're out.
Yeah,
so I think I've seen this work absolutely in reverse.
Yeah.
And I've been guilty of it. Dan calls this the largest check. When you do this, you have to do it through what's your largest check.
Oh yeah.
And what happens is you realize, oh my gosh, this really is the largest opportunity I have, but how much time am I actually really committing to it now?
Yeah.
I might chase some other thing.
Yeah.
Instead, now what I've learned to do is say, how can I tie this in to that big thing? Mm-hmm. Not be separate, but it actually help that largest check.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. I love that.
Okay. The next one, and I only have a couple more. What gets you off track? Every week, sit down and go, where did I get off my schedule? Where did I, not do the grains of sand, and how can I fix that? it says you got to fix it at the end of the day, the week, the month, the season, the years, the decade. What you will be is what you give your attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So true. I find too, a lot of people, and we've all been guilty of this, but like take the 411 exercise, for example, that a lot of us have used and know and do. Sometimes you start off so strong and then it'll be July and you're like, oh, I haven't looked at it since May.
Yeah.
And then you're way off. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it is so true. It's like, you have to think about the things. I mean, I have to do this all the time of what actually gets you off track. Exactly what he said. Otherwise, you can look up and a whole quarter can go by and it's gone. I mean,
or
quick.
longer. I was going to tell you how I got my week filled next week. That's a perfect example of it.
Yeah.
Is I don't know how many times this has been part of my goals is to, when I get to Ohio, because I'm only there for a week, sometimes two, how do I make that the most productive I can? Well, I kept having it on there, not doing it, or halfway doing it, or having a little bit of productivity, but a lot of just wasted time. Not wasted, but not as productive as I could. So I did what Dan teaches and what I've learned works so best for me is I pulled in other people. Totally. And I said, it's your role. It's your responsibility.
Yeah. I know. They've been stressing me out about it. Everybody's texting me, emailing me. Linda's here on the 8th. What are we doing? What's everybody doing? Where are we going? Who's she meet with? I'm like, oh gosh, she's delegated.
Yes. Because you know what? It gets done.
It does get done.
I have the busiest, best week I've ever had in the region, except for when I was probably.
Feel so good when you leave too. Like you'll feel like that was your time. I hate that. Like same with me when I go to visit the market centers. If it's not, planned out ahead of time, then I'm like, I feel like I was here and I just wasted my time. Last time when I told you I took those people to dinner and I had recruiting, like I did it differently and I felt like it was just the best time I'd had all year there.
So that's the thing. If let's say that's a perfect example. So let's say that's a plan and you say, well, remember how long I've been wanting to have lunch with Carrie? Until I gave it to somebody else, it didn't happen. Monday, we got to finally have lunch. She's been with me 20-something years. Now, don't get me wrong. I do have lunches. We go to birthday lunches if we're here.
Totally.
But I don't ever just say, hey, Carrie, let's you and I go to lunch. You know what I mean?
Love that, by the way. Oh, my gosh.
Well, maybe. I hope. You know what I mean? So I think that's the trick is we got to plan and prep enough in advance to say, what are the big rocks that when I'm in the region have to get done, and then here you guys do it. Like they're working on a birthday thing for me right now to be able to make it easy for me to reach out to people on their birthday, because I'll get some people's birthday and I'll miss the others. Not that we send them a book anyway, but me personally reach out, because these are important people to me. So I think just more that you can do those kinds of things. And this is kind of what he's talking about here. Put your big projects down and then sit and think through what's going to give this the best odds of getting complete. And 99.9% of the time, it's when I give it to somebody else and say, if you have a problem, come back to me. Because then I'll step in. But until you have a problem and you can just get it done, then there's no need for me to step in.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, so true.
I need to teach them that when an OP or team leader is not responding, it's not because they don't want to, it's because they don't have anything.
That's definitely true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at least planting the seeds makes them, like Ryan Riddell, he got busy and got us 4 people.
Yeah. And I emailed Michelle and I'm like, if other people don't take those time slots, give them to me. And she's so Teresa can have them. She's like, okay, we will. Because honestly though, Linda, that's what you've always said this. People either will or they won't.
Yeah.
I mean, that it's true every single time. They either will or they won't.
Well, and don't misunderstand that. This is what I say always about recruits too. If they're not communicating, it's not a definite no. It's a not right now.
That's right.
Or
it's a not. It's always a no is a not yet.
Yeah, because that's why they're not responding. If it was an absolute no, they'd say no.
Yep.
Right. So I need to teach the team that, because I need to say, look, because every one of the people that they're reaching out to are people who want to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not because they don't want to win or whatever. It's because they don't have anybody. They're probably out there working their butts off to get somebody so that they can respond to you, but they don't want to respond to you with, no, I don't have anybody, which is good. You don't want them to respond with that.
Yeah.
So I need to teach them that because I haven't taught them that. So they're like super like, what do I do? Do you want to call them? What do you want to do? I said, I'll only call them if we have any vacant spots. So far I hadn't had to make any calls. But this was so good to me. I love things on time.
Yeah.
It can make me think about my time differently. Because if you really think about it, the key determiner of people's success is what they do with those 24 hours and how you learn to manage like the moments so that you can manage the activities so that you can reach the goals. Yeah.
And I feel like people talk about this all the time because it's never changed. We all have the same 24 hours in the day. But it's like, you look at somebody, I mean, we'll just use Gary because we've used him a lot on this episode as an example of things he's taught us. But it's like Gary has the same 24 hours in the day as somebody else, as me or as you. It's just truly what people choose to do with the time that makes the difference.
Yep. I love it. So I was so glad I did this. It took 2 hours in the evening and Jimmy's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm spending time with Dr. Cloud. He's one of my favorites this year. Yeah. So you keep watching the Olympics. I'm going to spend some time with Dr. Henry Cloud on Finite Time.
He is so good. I mean, he is just, man, he comes out with just the best stuff, like life-changing stuff. I just feel like we learn so much and we hear, like, especially me and you, because we're junkies on this, but like we read so much and we listen to so many podcasts and we do all this stuff, but there's really very few people that I feel like every time I hear from them, it's like a major thing. You know what I mean?
Deep wisdom.
Yeah. And he's one of those people. He really is just one of those leaders.
Yep. So true.
Love it.
Okay. So remember, if you have not hit the subscribe button, please go ahead and do that now. And the greatest compliment you could pay Dana and I is to pass this podcast along to anyone that you think that would benefit from our conversations. And if you have a challenge, an opportunity, a question, or a guest that you'd like for us to feature on the podcast, reach out to us at info@everything life and real estate. And Dana, I guess I'll see you next week, literally.
See you then. Yes.
Be sure to subscribe for more business strategies and tactics to inspire you to live an abundant real estate life. Don't forget to rate and review so we can bring you the best content. Find this and other valuable information at everythinglifeandrealestate.com.